What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Nightmare Experience with Ontario Doctor. And I'm doing this video because I wanted to share a news article that Michelle Mandel published in the Toronto Sun, January 8th, 2021. If you guys have seen previous videos on my channel, I'm talking about a bad experience I had at the Humber River Hospital, meeting Dr. Sammy Vaidyanathan. I felt like I left that hospital more injured in the care of this doctor who I'd met in the emergency room. This doctor does not have a good reputation with the College of Nurses and Surgeons of Ontario. And this, I want to share this news article, and it's very compelling. And there's a lot of statements that I can relate to. And I just, for those who have not seen this article, I think it's important, in support of my channel here and just sharing my story. I had to take a lot of time off of work. It was a very rough assessment in that emergency room on the night of October 5th or 7th, 2017. This doctor was already going through a lot of issues around that time. There was a lot of complaints pending, and that more were coming forth with the College of Physicians. This this doctor, he got his license was suspended for a year, I believe, and there was no accountability. I filed a small claims lawsuit against this lawyer and law firm McCarthy Tétrault. McCarthy Tétrault. They were the law firm. The doctor was not in good standing at the time, so I guess his insurance didn't pay for it, to my knowledge. He got back in, his suspension was over, and this law firm took on the case. There was 3 lawyers from that law firm that was defending this lawyer, and they were given almost 4 years to file a defense. Towards the end of this lawsuit, before it got dismissed, I was given a strict 60 days to come up with an expert report. Mind you, that was in November 2024. And I was I was given 60 days. During those 60 days, my paralegal left to practice. It was Christmas. I had some other personal things going on. The holidays, obviously, New Year's. And that's when I found out through a handful of these expert reporting companies that provide these reports. 9 out of 10 times, they only deal with lawyers or insurance companies. So I wasn't able to produce this sophisticated report within 60 days. And I thought it was very unfair and prejudiced of the Toronto Small Claims Court, allowing this law firm 3.5 years, almost 4 years, to file their defense. I tried to note them in default, and there was issues with that. So when I read this news article that I'm about to read to you guys, it's troubling, first of all, and it's basically, there's just a lot of things that I read that are just resonating to my experience with this doctor. And if you haven't read this article by the Toronto Sun, it's pretty interesting. But what I'll do is I'm just going to read it to everyone, and it's a 3-minute read, and I just think it's important that this material is shared on this channel. So Mandel writes, self-treating Toronto doctor suspended for 1 year. He ordered x-rays and blood work for himself, self-prescribed Tamiflu, then billed OHIP to get paid for his efforts. The shocking part is this doctor has only been suspended for 1 year. 10 times over 5 years while working in the emergency departments of the Humber River Regional Hospital or Niagara Health System, Dr. Sammy Vaidyanathan examined himself, ordered tests for himself, then billed OHIP for himself. He self-treated for everything from a sprained ankle to a hand injury and even the flu, ordering x-rays and blood work and self-prescribing Tamiflu on one date. He used the hospital labs to test himself for hepatitis A, B, and C, HIV, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. On another, he ran blood tests for his vitamins and iron levels. The audacity of the guy. And according to the lengthy ruling this week by the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, that's just the tip of the 40-year-old's medical and professional transgressions. Despite a nearby doctor's lounge, Vaidyanathan once plunked himself down on a patient stretcher in the emergency department of the Humber River Hospital's Finch site and watched a YouTube video on a mobile computer intended for patient care. According to the agreed statement of facts, nursing staff asked him to clean up after himself when his break was over. Vaidyanathan told them to get housekeeping to do it. A disciplinary committee found his behavior toward female colleagues was abusive and demeaning, and particularly alarming were the aggressive and intimidating texts he sent a Humber River nurse and when the romantic relationship ended. According to the decision, the harassment was so serious that the hospital instituted a formal safety plan for her, and Vaidyanathan was referred to the physician health program for an assessment. And then there was his professional failings as a doctor. An audit of 16 charts from his emergency practice found that in 9 cases, the 2006 graduate of Warsaw School of Medicine, which is in Poland, displayed a lack of knowledge, skill, and judgment. And in 7, his clinical practice exposed patients to potential harm. His out-of-hospital practice was even worse. An audit found Vaidyanathan displayed a lack of knowledge, skill, and judgment and exposed patients to potential harm in 14 of 15 charts examined from his walk-in clinics. Nor was this a unique finding. He had 3 previous complaints with repeated themes such as misdiagnosis, communication, issues with other staff and patients, and poor medical records. Over several years at the number of different hospitals. In July 2019, the complaints went no further after he agreed to practice under supervision in the ER. Since March 2020, the college said he's been working at 2 cosmetic clinics. He's been supervising and giving cosmetic injections. Vaidyanathan did not respond to requests for comment. According to the ruling, the doctor admitted the agreed statement of facts shows he's guilty of his professional misconduct. His lawyers asked for a 6-month suspension and ban on prescribing controlled drugs such as opiates when he's working outside of the hospital emergency departments. To this credit, the college committee determined that wasn't harsh enough. Though his relatively brief career, Dr. Sammy Vaidyanathan has displayed a persistent and shocking lack of judgment, integrity, and professionalism. The committee noted, when he returns to his practice a year from now, Vaidyanathan has been banned from prescribing controlled and narcotic drugs, even in the ER, due to his cavalier and reckless overprescribing. The only restriction that would adequately protect the public is to prohibit Dr. Vaidyanathan from prescribing, renewing, or administering controlled substances in both his out-of-hospital and emergency practice, they wrote. Vaidyanathan had hospital privileges at Humber River's Wilson Avenue site, as well as 3 hospitals in Niagara. His suspension comes in effect February 3rd. Vaidyanathan has paid back OHIP for the 10 times he's billed for self-treatment, so at least the taxpayers aren't out any money, right? So this is the stuff I was talking about for almost 7 years in the small claims court. I tried to civilly reason with this law firm. When I asked for $25,000, that was literally a fraction of the money, the potential income I lost when I had to leave my job on an injury and illness layoff. I had a really good paying job, and when I saw that Dr. Sammy Vaidyanathan at the Humber River Hospital, I'm going to say it was October 7th, 2017, in that emergency room, he hurt me. He hurt me. He raised my arm up so hard and so fast. I had a torn tendon. I had swelling. I had an MRI like a week or two later. And, you know, this doctor, see, reading this news article, when I found out that this doctor went to school in Poland, I wondered, like, you start, caution flags start to come up, right? Like, questions start to come up, how familiar was how familiar was this doctor with the Polish language? How much English was spoken at that school? Like I've said before, it was like it was reckless seeing that doctor. I left the Humber River Hospital that night feeling more injured, more in pain than entering that hospital that night. That doctor left me hanging in the patient room, never gave me discharge papers. He has a horrible record, a horrible report with the College of Physicians and Surgeons Ontario website. Anyone can see it. Some of the things were taken down, like his DUI. Maybe he's been pardoned. I don't know, but you know, yeah. So that's the news article I just wanted to share with everybody. And while reading that, it just so much resonated with me. I was like, I could see. I personally experienced most, if not all, of those things mentioned, and you wonder how this. Questions come up. How, where did this doctor get his license? And there is some information there, but this is wild. Reading that, a doctor would be so ignorant, so comfortable to do these things. Showing no regard for taxpayers, showing no regard for the privilege of working as a doctor in Ontario, being paid from the taxpayers. And you got doctors like Sammy Vaidyanathan doing these things. I'm sorry, but to me that seems like a disgraced doctor. I know he's trying to continue working on in his practice. But when there's stuff like that published, it's that I don't think much has changed. I tried to reason with this law firm, and they were just unreasonable. They came up with that expert report. This doctor in the emergency room said, "Oh, he did nothing wrong." You got two doctors looking out for each other. The doctor did something wrong. Just because another doctor writes on paper, "Oh, out of my 30 years experience, I don't think he's done anything." Well, you weren't there. You didn't know the actual pain I was in, the discomfort I was in, the rough assessment. So that was just straight up ignorant from that doctor that wrote that report, because they just looked out for each other. This is all about protecting liability and litigation. And what, you pay a couple fines, you work under supervision, you're all clear now, this stuff goes away. It doesn't. I would be very surprised if this doctor just ever worked at a hospital again. But what he did to his colleagues, how he treated females there, so it's I'm going to share this news article with you guys, but yeah, I'm very disappointed how this was all handled. This doctor had no remorse. He hid behind lawyers that just try to dismiss his responsibility of that rough assessment. I was off work for almost 2 years. I've said all that in a previous video, and this doctor had no regard, neither did his lawyers. So, I'm leaving it at that. I'll share the news article in this video. I just want to thank you guys for watching, and there's always a lesson in all these things, right? All these events and experiences, and it's just what I would give off from this whole experience dealing with this doctor, the law firm, the Toronto Small Claims. You can't always foresee your injuries. You can try to be mindful, but the whole lesson is out of all this is that, well, there's a few of them. One of them is, take your time with everything and try to become as much as informative with the human anatomy. That's not going to prevent you from seeing a doctor who just doesn't care and is just lacks knowledge, has a horrible reputation. Because I would have been better off that night not even seeing Dr. Sammy Vaidyanathan, and I would have been better off just staying home and icing my injury rather going to see this doctor instead of him. A doctor with common sense. If someone is injured and say, "Hey, I feel like I torn a ligament or something," you think a doctor would be like, "Check it out." Not like this, having me yelping in pain, leaving me in that emergency room for 20, 25 minutes, not giving me any discharge papers. And you know what? The patient relations did nothing about it. This College of Physicians did next to nothing to help me. And everyone should be very mindful of going to this doctor. You should know his history, know his record, know what he's good at. And it seems like he's good at, from this article, it seems like he's good at doing cosmetic stuff. I don't know, doing Botox. I'm not sure what he was doing there, but seems to be quite the doctor to keep an eye out for if you're going in front of him or if you suspect any doctor that is questionable professionalism. So I'm going to leave the video at that and just be very mindful, guys, of... don't just be naive and just put your trust into a doctor because they're a doctor. Try to do your research if you can. I know not in all situations you can. You're in an emergency, you got a broken bone, or something like that. You're going to put your trust into the system, right? That's something you're going to get a good doctor. So you can't always avoid, these doctors, but just try to get familiar with the anatomy. And I'm going to leave the video at that. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another video with Nightmare Experience with Ontario Doctor. And this video has been about just sharing this news article with the Toronto Sun that Michelle Mandel wrote and published January 8th, 2022. Thank you guys for watching.